All right, Nick, let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the Steelers had a phenomenal offseason. I thought they had a lot of really strong pickups, but some of the guys they got in the later rounds are really kind of starting to shine through these OTAs and mini camps. There's some buzz around these guys, and even their own defensive coaches are talking about how good they can be. Let's get into one guy in particular in this article, and I want to hear your thoughts on him on the other side. This, of course, is from over on All Steelers, and it says, the Pittsburgh Steelers are in a solid place when it comes to their secondary, but they also did a good job of bringing in young talent during the draft and immediately after. They signed one of the most prominent undrafted players, West Virginia's Beanie Bishop, who figures to contend for snaps this year. They also selected a big defensive back in the 6th round of the most recent draft, Ryan Watts. One of those analysts is Emery Hunt. Hunt, an NFL analyst for CBS Sports, recently appeared on the College Draft podcast with Ross Tucker. During his appearance, he discussed the Steelers and Watts specifically. He said, I was a big fan of Ryan Watts. I graded him as a combo safety. He was my number 3 combo safety. He's a big physical player. He's 6'2", 208 pounds, and he can match up versus the bigger wide receivers. Defensive coordinator Terrell Austin also was extremely complimentary of the rookie during his minicamp media availability. He said he's long and tall. He's like Joey Porter Jr. He's like Corey Trice Jr., but he can play inside, Austin said. And I know he's a physical corner. He was physical at Texas. So, Nick, again, 2 people in a row said this guy's physical. They say he's talented. They're really excited about him for this Steelers defense. Curious what your thoughts on this one are. But before we get to you Steelers fans, in the comment section below, it's been a theme the last few weeks. We've been asking people, who is your favorite player, depending on who the player we're talking about is. So let us know your favorite Pittsburgh corner or potentially combo safety of all time. Let's go corner, because safety, that's too easy. One favorite Pittsburgh corner of all time in the comments below. While you're down there, check out the description below the video and look at some of our favorite NFL books that we have read. We want to pass that knowledge along to you, so you can be the top dog in the comment sections and have all that knowledge. So check out our recommended NFL books in the description below the video. But Nick, what are your thoughts on Watts?
Look, when this first news broke, you talk about Watts. He was kind of a forgotten prospect, and he was on a Texas Longhorns team that was obviously very good, and they had a number of elite guys go in the early rounds in the NFL draft. But when you look at what the Steelers are doing here, I think it's very smart, because if you look at the structure of their secondary, they obviously have a lot of young guys. You look at Trice, you look at, of course, Joey Porter Jr., who I think is really a star player, a young star. They have some veteran guys as well in the secondary, mainly on the back end. Look at Minkah Fitzpatrick. But of course, you got guys like Jackson. We'll see what happens with Cameron Sutton. But the reality is the Steelers are in a very similar situation. And I know this is a very favorable comp, but it's pretty close to the early 2010 Seattle Seahawks, that Legion of Boom defense. When you focus on the secondary, that Seahawks secondary had the clear number 1, number 2 corners, right? They had 2 great safeties. They were stacked across the board in terms of defensive backs. So opposing teams, what they would have to go to, they sit there and say, okay, we can't throw it at Richard Sherman. We can't attack the middle of the field because Earl Thomas is going to beat us apart. We can't go over, short stuff because Cam Chancellors will cause all kinds of havoc. We got to attack somebody else. And they attacked a guy by the name of Brandon Browner, who, because of his incredible length, Browner was 6'4" when he played, was able to just completely engulf. And even though he was the least talented member of the Legion of Boom, he was able to go out there and cause all kind of headaches for opposing wide receivers, because they weren't used to being up against a guy with that kind of length. We are seeing the same thing here with the Pittsburgh Steelers and what they're doing with Watts. And this is why I think it's a good sign that Austin's so impressed with them. It's clear that the Steelers have a lot of great playmakers in the secondary. I think Jackson and Joey Porter Jr. are at the top of the list. I'm excited what Corey Trice can do. You look at, of course, Elliott, Minkah Fitzpatrick at the safety position. They got playmakers anywhere. You can throw the ball to anywhere near those guys. That's a pick 6 waiting to happen. But if there's another potential opportunity to attack, it would be someone not covered by those guys. And that would theoretically be a guy covered by Ryan Watts. So when you're in that situation where you know you're going to have a young corner getting picked on, when you know that's going to be the weakness that everyone is going to attack, You want to offset that weakness by having just a physical anomaly in its presence. And that's what Watts is. That's what Brandon Browner was for the Seahawks. He was the one talent weak point on that Legion of Boom defense, but because he was so tall and long, he presented just a physical freak challenge for opposing receivers and quarterbacks. They didn't know how to handle it, and it ended up not being a weakness at all. That's what we're going to see with Ryan Watts. And I think this was a really good move because, look, no one's going to want to throw at Minka. No one's going to want to throw at Joey Porter Jr. The other safeties are very good, right? Obviously, the pass rush is outstanding, so they're going to have to get rid of the ball quick. It means they're going to target other corners, other defenders. And Ryan Watts, because of his size, his long arms, just his history, his playmaking ability, his great speed for his size, he creates that physical anomaly for opposing offenses that'll just completely negate any strategy that other teams have trying to attack that as a weakness. This is one of the more underrated moves any teams have made this offseason, the Steelers picking up Watts. And I think whether it's this year or the future, it will end up paying big time dividends for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Nick, and I like what they did in particular. You see the volume of corners they brought in, as you said. I think that's good for a different reason as well, because if you look at this team, it's pretty stacked. There's a lot of really great up and coming young players, but they don't have a quarterback on a long term contract. Pickens, their most talented receiver, he's not on a long term contract. You look at, the other guys in the middle field, Keanu Benton, he's looking strong. He's not on a long term deal. Then you've got some other guys around the ball who do have big time deals as well. So if you want to pay everybody, which eventually you're going to have to pay Joey Porter Jr., he's looking like a very strong player. That's a guy I see, in the future getting a big time deal. You want to have a volume, a lot of smaller level guys coming in, gaining experience and really being able to step up and come in and play big time. And I think that's what guys like Watts, and also mentioned in the article, Beanie Wells Jr. also coming in. Beanie Bishop, excuse me, coming in as well. I think having young corners and a lot of young corners coming in, because there's a ton of other players they have from the last few drafts as well. There's a overload of corners on the Steelers roster. They're very strong. You got Anthony Averett as well. That guy came in from free agency. He was very good with Las Vegas. He's very good with Baltimore. I think that this is a Steelers team who's preparing for the future, and they have so many options at corner. Like you said, there's really no room for weakness on this team. They have a lot of great guys that could come in and step up and be the next big thing for them.